Hey everyone, it's Holmes from Home Storybooks, and today I thought I would sit here with some tea, it's orange Pico, and have a little chat to you. This is a slightly different setup, but I like it so far. We'll iron the kinks out as we go, I think. I've never really filmed a chatty video like this before, but let's see how we go, shall we? First of all, happy Pride Month and happy National Aboriginal Heritage Month. What a big month for First Nations, Métis and Inuit people, especially if they are Two-Spirit or queer. First Nations people disregarded the gender binary thousands of years ago, but with the advent of colonization they were forced back into harmful practices and were prohibited from practicing their languages, culture, and beliefs. 2018, along with many other years, marks active resistance against that gender decolonization, and I welcome it with open arms. I actually have a video on queer Indigenous poetry if you'd like to check it out. I discuss 4 collections: Full Metal Indigiqueer by Joshua Whitehead, The Wound is a World by Billy Ray Belcourt, IRL by Tommy Pico, who has a new collection, Junk, which I must read, and Passage by Gwen Benaway. Otherwise, if you'd like other queer Indigenous recommendations, I loved Love Beyond Body, Space and Time by Nicholson, which is a First Nations sci-fi anthology of short stories. There's a great story in there about 2 boys who turn into hummingbirds, lesbians in space with dogs, and other great stories too. Speaking of great stories, Vivek Shryer's new imprint is coming out through Arsenal Pulp Press, one of my favourite publishers. Vivek's imprint will be called VS Books, and it will focus on Black, Indigenous, or writers of colour between the ages of 18 to 28. There'll be an unpublished author with mentorship from Vivek herself, with the first book set to come out from Arsenal Pulp Press in September 2018. Also, that logo is just stunning. I adore it. Otherwise, this month I have a few videos planned. I want to do a books with surprise queer themes video where I talk about books that don't necessarily say they were LGBTQIA+, but had those themes or characters. I'd love to do a big book weekender only reading queer books, and also a video based on books on the queer experience in World War II. One of those I'm reading right now, and it is Aimee and Jaguar by Erica Fischer, and it's a biography about 2 lesbians in Berlin at the height of Nazi Germany. One of them is Jewish, and the photos are gorgeous. But for now, I have a review of The Well of Loneliness, a 1930s lesbian classic, up for your perusal. In terms of Pride, I'll definitely be watching the parade this year. Last year, my wife and I marched with her employer. It was really fun. A serious 45 minutes of cardio running to keep up behind a gyrating, glittery thong-wearing bear who was armed with naught else but nipple piercings on like a 9-degree day. I sprained my ankle about 5 weeks ago though, so I don't think I'll be able to walk or keep up with everyone. And I've never actually seen the parade. I've seen the bears, as I said, and the people who were marching behind us, but there wasn't really much of the actual parade that I saw. So I'd love to see it in all its glory this year. I've never actually been to a parade in Brisbane. The parade and celebrations are always in September, which is right around exam time, so I always chose the final pieces of assessment, worth 60% of my grade, unfortunately. I did go to one Pride on the Gold Coast. It was my first Pride I'd ever been to. I wore a bright blue leather jacket, as I had on the time that I marched last year. Look at that. I remember lying to my mom and telling her I was taking a train to see a friend's musical performance. I hated lying to her and was so nervous when I got there. I don't know that I'd ever seen that many queer people, like ever. It was before I went to university, and my high school did not have a queer safe space, although it wasn't necessarily homophobic. So this was before I was introduced into any safe spaces. I was so overwhelmed. There were so many stalls and so much colour and so many people giving things away for free. My friend Caitlin, who made my wedding celebration cake, did a wonderful job of keeping me company, and I'm so glad we went. But boy, oh boy, I was a scared little queer girl. I purchased a DVD called Were the World Mine, which is a fluffy queer Midsummer Night's Dream retelling, and was awed at how friendly and warm all the sellers and stalls were. Caitlin and I were standing in line to get our faces painted, and suddenly I was like, what if my mum finds out I'm here? What if I get in trouble for lying? What if someone outs me? And I panicked. I told Caitlin I had a headache and just wanted to head home early. She was really cool about it, but there was a drag queen who was like, honey, are you okay? Like, are you okay? She totally knew. She could probably read it on my face, to be honest. But I went home, I survived. I came up to my mum like 3 years later. Everything was fine. So I just wanted to say, if this is your first Pride and you're closeted, that's okay. If you're scared, it's okay. Trust me, it's more than okay. Your presence is so valued and everyone will love having you there, and you are important and you matter. If you need help coming out or you'd like some advice from one person's perspective, I'm more than happy to talk to just about anyone about my own coming out experience. Of course, it is only one single experience in the multitude of possible experiences, but I love helping people come out, knowing that my being out and telling my story helps people makes me cry every time, so please don't be afraid to reach out. My sister-in-law Taylor mentioned wanting to go out to a queer club during Pride and asked my wife and I if that would be okay. She was worried that she would be intruding on a safe space during Pride and didn't want to upset anyone. I understand where she's coming from because there can be a performative side to Pride, especially when it comes to businesses paying lip service to the community by slapping a rainbow on some merchandise without actually creating queer-friendly infrastructure, like preventing people from being discriminated against or gender-neutral bathrooms. But giving your money to Pride during Pride events to queer businesses is one of the reasons we all come back year after year. We wouldn't be where we are without the help of our allies. As long as you're invested in this community at times other than Pride Month, you're an ally. And I think one of the toughest parts about allyship is still being an ally when you don't necessarily agree with a community's or person's viewpoint. Being an ally is about knowing you can do better, working to do better, challenging yourself, and actively putting yourself in the line of fire when necessary. There's a preacher in the city, my wife has spoken to him a couple times actually, who routinely preaches against LGBTQIA people, among many others. He likes to scream about porn on the internet and how the Bible says not to partake in it or something. But let me tell you, knowing Taylor will be at Pride when we walk past that guy means the world. All of the music and shouts drown him out anyway, but homophobic people like this only assume the people who attend Pride are gay people. And of course, I want to avoid him if only to spare my wife from his rhetoric. But with Taylor there, I can see how bizarre and irrational his rambling speeches actually are. Taylor also got my wife and I a queer wedding card for our wedding day. She, of course, would consider it mandatory and think nothing of it, but it made me tear up and I appreciate her and her gestures so much. I wanted to bring up the conversation I had with her because I think it's important to acknowledge that many businesses are profiting from our protest, and at times it can be difficult to tell who is a genuine ally and who isn't. However, in my experiences, individuals are certainly more genuine than businesses, and I'm really grateful for Taylor for asking my advice and discussing queer things with me. I love it a bit. While we're on the topic of family, my visa process is nearly completed. I have the final interview for the visa on Thursday. Nothing is certain yet. I still have this last obstacle to overcome, but once that's done, I will be a permanent resident of Canada and I could not be more relieved. When my wife and I started this process, started purposefully writing letters to each other, taking photos together, keeping track of our messages and Skype logs, it was 3 years ago. More than. Same-sex marriage wasn't a thing in Australia, so immigrating to Canada to be with my wife was my only option. Since then, Australia has legalized same-sex marriage through a postal vote, which I, of course, took part in. I was going to do it online, but my letter came in the post first. My mother filled it out for me, and to this day, I didn't tell her how I wanted to vote, although I assume she knew. I'm so grateful Australia has legalized same-sex marriage and retroactively accept all marriages performed overseas, especially my own. I can't wait for the flood of wedding invitations, and I implore all wedding professionals, photographers, makeup artists, cake makers who are Australian to add a rainbow flag or some kind of indicator to their websites or pages. When I chose an officiant for my wedding, I chose one who said he was specifically LGBTIQA friendly, rather than one who did not specify. Coming out is a long and exhausting process. I will feel much more comfortable if I don't immediately have to do that. But after more than 3 years and 1 year officially in the country, here we are. It's almost done. I will be celebrating on Pride, or not if this doesn't go through. I'm relieved for this process to be nearly over. Historically, queer couples have struggled to have their relationships be seen as legitimate. As in our case, after some inspired homophobic legislation, Stephen Harper, the former Canadian Prime Minister, decided after same-sex marriage was federally recognized in 2005, that if gays could get married, why, anyone could get married. And so he created legislation that means that we, along with every other couple who apply through the spousal sponsorship visa, have to prove our relationship. So we came armed to the teeth with, as I said, letters, phone records, photographs of us in specific locations, everything of that nature. This interview will be the final piece of the puzzle, so I hope this Pride will be an even more memorable one than usual for brilliant reasons. I'm also considering doing a discussion on queer discomfort through media on this channel. I want to be really careful when I write the script for it because I don't want it to come off the wrong way. When I was young, I struggled to find queer media, and when I did, it was usually all about attractive cisgender gay men. Some of it felt performative, especially in the case of queer women. Anytime there was a sex scene, it just felt like it was another form of pornography, which I was already inundated with. I think part of my discomfort in watching queer media came from the fact that I was closeted, so there was that burden of secrecy. There was gatekeeping from other LGBTIQA people that happened, so I'd love to discuss that, and hopefully I make sense. Otherwise, I hope you're all well, and I'm so joyous to see so much queer content on my timeline. Flags being draped over balconies, queer shows premiering for the first time, all of those things. I started working out with a queer and genderqueer, disabled positive and body positive personal trainer that is within my budget. I owe them so much, and I just get so proud when I think of them and how they really saw a need in their community and answered that call. This month I have a lot to celebrate. I've been married to my wife for 3 years, and every day that I'm with her is the longest we've ever been together in the same city. The visa process is almost over. I have many queer friends who are happy and healthy and support me. My home country now recognises my marriage, so no longer do I have to declare I'm single on any Australian form ever. But still, I have so much to fight for. LGBTIQA people in countries like India, Jamaica, Uganda, China, and Chechnya are actively persecuted, arrested, and beaten every day just for who they are. I hope that LGBTIQA people in those countries have a safe, happy, healthy pride, and I hear them, I see them all around the world. Trans people all around the world desperately need access to safe healthcare, safer bathrooms, better legislation to protect themselves, their bodies, and their right to take up space. We still have so many people being misgendered every day, dead-named every day, who struggle to pay for medical care they should be able to afford. I will be thinking of queer people in hostile environments like Trump's America, where there is legislation to protect us, but that can fall flat on the voices of the ever-present white supremacy of the country itself. Puerto Rico right now is going into hurricane season, with so many people still waiting for water, for electricity, for the houses to be safe. We are in this together. The fight is not over. The protest is not finished. So, what can you do this month? If you own a business, consider sticking a rainbow sticker on the window to your door. I always look for those little stickers everywhere. I love them. They're such a signal and a lighthouse to me. I can guarantee your straight patrons won't even see it because they aren't looking for it. But I do, and believe me, if I see a rainbow sticker on your door, I will come back. Because I know it's safe. Does your business have gender-neutral bathrooms? If not, why not? Do multiple people of multiple genders use your bathroom at home? If so, congratulations, you have a gender-neutral bathroom. Of course, you can go to Pride events, Pride parades, and drag balls, drag brunches, drag storytime read-alongs in local libraries. You can, of course, read queer books, watch LGBTIQA films, listen to music made by queer musicians. You can donate to queer charities or individuals, listen to podcasts, TED Talks, poetry slams, or theatre. You can follow queer gamers on Twitch, queer people on Twitter, or any other online platform like YouTube, which has its own issues demonetizing and flagging videos marked LGBTIQA+ as inappropriate, but that's for another day. I hope everyone else has a happy, healthy, safe Pride Month, and every other month, because, no one stops being gay. I'm as gay as ever, even on the difficult days. To parrot a 1930s advertisement for, is it cough medicine? I think so. Thank you so much for letting me ramble on, and well done if you made it to the end. Leave your suggestions for big queer books down below, other than Tipping the Velvet by Sarah Waters, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.